Hi, everybody. It's Vince Sellers again here with FBI Talk, another episode to dazzle and entertain you or put you to sleep, whichever, maybe all the above. So thanks for tuning in. Seriously, I appreciate it. These are fun for me to make when I get the chance, and I just like sharing my knowledge of the FBI, and there's lots of people that are curious. It's nothing amazing usually, but just kind of these little tidbits of information that you may not find elsewhere. So glad to share. Keep those questions coming as well, and suggestions for future episodes, and I'll look into those and try to keep sharing my hot air with you guys, and again, hopefully entertaining you a little bit along the way. All right, so today I'm going to do a deeper dive on the academic side of the FBI Academy. So the FBI Academy, of course, the three main pieces of study there are the academics, firearms are super important, and then defensive tactics and kind of all the arrest tactics and all that type of stuff. So you kind of have those three different areas of study, and there's a lot within each one. So I'm going to break those down, but today we're going to focus just on the academic side. So what do you study? How does that work? And what's that like? So there is information out there about what the curriculum is technically, so I'll do an overview of that. It's been a long time since I've been at the FBI Academy. I was there in 05 and then into 06, so long time ago. A lot probably has changed, and also I would suspect a lot has not. So FBI is a giant organization, and change does not come quickly. But nevertheless, so what I tell you today, probably most of that is still the type of stuff that you'll learn about and be exposed to, probably pretty similar today as it was back then. All right, so academics, you spend probably about a third of your time on the academic side. I thought that when I applied and was driving to the FBI Academy, I thought I would be maybe a bit bored with the academics. I was never a great student. I was always anxious to get out of class. I was one of the kids that just was praying for a fire drill, anything to get out from behind the desk. My mind would wander, all those type of things. Just didn't love school, even college. I like college, but I didn't really like the class part. So go figure. And I'm probably similar to many of you out there. And if you really enjoy the academic stuff, then good for you. So much to my surprise, though, I found that I wound up enjoying the academic side of the FBI Academy by far much more than any of the other things. The defensive tactics and firearms, not a lot of fun. Academics, I always genuinely look forward to, and I could have gone on that, doing that stuff forever. It was like being in school, but learning subjects that you're actually interested in. What a concept, right? And again, no offense to, there's lots of great students, people that know what they want to do. They go to school and they're just soaking it in. Good for you if that's you. That was not me during my general, K through 12 or even in college. But nevertheless, we'll focus on the topic in hand here today. So the FBI Academy, for the most part, the firearms instructors, defensive tactics instructors are kind of a-holes, for lack of a better term. However, the academic side, and you do have some advisors, there's plenty of great people there that are friendly and treat you professionally. But on the academic side in particular, all of those instructors that teach you a wide variety of subjects, which I'll get into, they treat students like adults, because you are adults. By the time you get there, I mean, a lot of folks are well into their 30s, including myself when I joined. And so you've been used to being treated like an adult, maybe for 10 years in your private life. I had about 10 years of work experience when I went in. And then to be, in some of these other forums, not treated well, it's just an adjustment, right? But you got to expect it. It's an FBI Academy. It's very similar to a lot of police academies or a military boot camp. You could also view it that way. But again, on the academic side, the academic teachers treat you very professionally. They cover a lot of topics. The FBI is a large bureaucratic entity, and bureaucracies tend to have lots of paperwork and forms and processes, and there's good reasons behind why you do those. but it is overwhelming. You will learn and memorize lots of form names and how to fill out those forms for different occasions and different things. You learn all about, basically the FBI's manual of how to operate, how to investigate different types of crimes, all that type of stuff. You learn, very important, it was called the FD 302 form. When I was in, it's probably still called that. That's the interview form. That's probably the most important form that you'll ever fill out, and you will do in a career, probably thousands, I would guess, definitely hundreds, but even thousands, most likely. That's basically when you interview or talk to anybody. Could be a bank robber, could be a witness to a crime, could just be some general intelligence gathering, but you document your interviews by typing those up in an FD 302. You learn all about that, how to interview people, how to push it, how to push people in trying to get a confession. The FBI does not interrogate. They don't call it interrogation. They do have some tactics to apply some pressure to somebody that you're interviewing, but you don't. You're not going to learn how to waterboard somebody or something like that. So anyway. If you expect that, then that's not happening in the FBI. What else can I tell you? So, you spend a lot of time, learning these investigative techniques. You learn a ton about the law. FBI agents, at the end of the day, they are law enforcement agents. You need to know the law if you're going to enforce it. It's not a matter of, well, I'm pretty sure that's not allowed. Like, no, you need to be able to state the section, Title 3, 1803, U.S. Code, blah, blah, blah. You need to be able to know what the law is, where the laws are, and definitely get versed with the ones that are more common, the wire fraud and mail fraud, those type of things, which are common devices that you use to arrest people and that type of thing. So you learn a lot about that type of stuff. You learn all about probable cause, the type of information, the level of information you need in order to arrest somebody or to get a search warrant. All of those things have legal standards, and you have to know those backwards and forwards, and you will be tested on that. By the way, the testing for the academic side, you have roughly, I don't remember the exact number, but roughly a dozen tests. So every week or two, you're going to be tested on your knowledge of what you learned. You have to study for these. If you fail, at the time, I believe it was 2, and a failure was less than 80%, if I remember correctly. So you got to know your stuff. FBI is not going to just put somebody out there on the street as an agent that doesn't know their stuff. So FBI Academy, the academics, you're expected to learn that stuff, memorize it, and pass these tests. Good news is the content is usually interesting enough that most people, even if you're tired, which is probably the biggest battle that I fought, is just being up, since early in the morning and exercising and doing all these things, and you show up after lunch and class, and it's hard to stay awake sometimes. But aside from that, the content is interesting enough that I found myself and probably most of the other agents soak it up, and therefore the studying wasn't quite as intense or as bad as college cramming for the final or something like that. And not quite as hard. Of course, I guess that depends on your background. But nevertheless, academics, for the most part, weren't too tough for anybody. And I don't believe anybody out of roughly 30 people flat out failed and was removed from the FBI Academy. Some people may have failed an exam and had to retake, but nobody, went more than the threshold where they get booted on the academic side anyway. So anyway, so don't be too scared of it, but you have to take it seriously. That is your job, is to learn that stuff. And so they just want to ensure that you are indeed learning that stuff. So you learn all about Miranda rights and all these things. Now, there's everything I've talked to so far has been more on the criminal side. So you have kind of criminal investigations, that's your classic bank robberies and all that type of stuff. And then you have a whole other side on the terrorism related items and foreign intelligence and all those things. So those are kind of two different sides of the house in the FBI, and you learn the differences. There's different types of warrants for terrorism-related items. The FISA warrants, that's the Foreign Intelligence Service Act, I believe is the acronym, that enables FBI agents to get warrants in secret, so that terrorists don't know we're looking into them and that type of stuff. So, of course, if you follow the news over time, not as much recently, we've had bigger problems, but historically, especially after 9/11 and you get into 5 years, 10 years, potential abuse of those powers and people looking into it, maybe incorrect warrants or people getting information and they don't have a warrant, that kind of stuff. Those are all things that they will talk about at the FBI Academy and that you're probably somewhat familiar with. So they definitely train you to dot your I's and cross your T's, and make sure that you're not, abusing anything. And one of the interesting parts too, and I'll throw it into the academic side, is that they will do a tour, as far as I know they're still doing this, of the National Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. That will be on a weekend excursion, if you will, from the FBI Academy. I'll hop on a bus and go up there, and it's incredibly moving. If you've never seen that, it is a fantastic museum and a fantastic lesson that everybody needs to always keep in mind, that we do not repeat history. And anyway, I'm not going to go off on a political tangent here as much as I'm tempted to, but I'll keep my mouth shut on current events. But nevertheless, FBI agents are indeed trained on some history of what happens when you get a tyrant like Adolf Hitler come to power, and everything that happened in World War II. So not a good time, but very important for us to learn about that and FBI agents to learn about that. So that's kind of my response to when I hear people of concern and validly expressing concern about law enforcement and FBI agents and kind of the direction things may be going or perceptions, sometimes reality. But I do know that all FBI agents, as far as I know, at least since I went through, have been, trained and are great people. The last thing anyone wants is to see a repeat of Nazi Germany. So anyway, little side tangent there, but you get exposed to those concepts is my main point. So it's sure you learn how to fill out a form and dot your I's and cross your T's, but also you get that broader picture, things to watch out for and speak up if you see happening. You also learn some cool things like photography techniques, be it f-stops or light levels and all those things, because part of an FBI's job is photographing crime scenes or doing surveillance photography. I did a lot of that as an agent because I love photography. And so that was a fun part of the FBI Academy, is you get to practice with that stuff. You practice using, the cameras and all that. What else? You practice, you get educated on how to do fingerprints and everything. You get educated about DNA, what to do and what not to do. We heavily studied the O.J. Simpson trial and how the evidence was handled. And even to this day, even though I've been out of the FBI for a long time, I still remember if you're ever going to collect that blood evidence, do not put it in a plastic bag. Put it in a paper bag. It's fine for it to dry out. The issue is when it's sealed off, and then that's when samples go bad. So the officers responding and collecting evidence at OJ's event back in the 90s did not follow those proper evidence collection procedures, or else the trial probably would have had a different outcome. Or maybe again, I'll stay on track here, but you learn about cool stuff like that. You also get guest speakers. Famous FBI agents, perhaps, at least somewhat famous within the FBI, folks that have survived, shootings and done amazing things. The agent that, if you've ever seen the movie Donnie Brasco, he used to hang around quite a bit, at least when I was in at the FBI Academy, and make some guest appearances or what have you. And I think he came back through here and there, touching base with folks. So you get get exposed to some of those people as well. Occasionally the FBI director might pop in. That's always exciting, and so yeah, you just never know. So yeah, that's pretty much the deal there. What else can I tell you? So yeah, that pretty well covers the major things. I mean, the last thing I wanted to mention is it all builds this entire experience at the FBI Academy. It all builds to a grand finale, and they start putting the pieces together of at least of your activities, like learning how to do surveillance and interviewing. They turn those into more practical exercises in the famous Hogan's Alley, which I'll cover a little bit more in the defensive tactics area because it's more applicable there. But it all winds up coming down to you're going to build a big case file, and ultimately you and your coworkers or fellow new agents will put together a case and wind up testifying in a moot court or fake court, whatever you want to call it, based on all the evidence that you've actually collected. These actors that you interview that are pretending to be bad guys or witnesses. So you put all that together. You have to, pretend to, apply for warrants, and you have, all that stuff comes together as one big comprehensive case. So you see how it kind of works from start to finish. So anyway, it's a neat thing that they do there in building up to that. But they take it seriously. Last thing I'll mention is that moot court, they take it so seriously. If you say something that is incorrect, if you knowingly make a false statement, you say, yep, I'm positive I saw this person do that, or they told me this, then it's not true, it's not documented, or what have you, then you will be removed from the FBI Academy and sent packing home. It has happened. Agents made it all the way to the end of their training and then decided to not tell the truth on the stand in this fake court, and they're sent packing. So take all the exercises very seriously. If you have an instructor that says, by the way, make sure that you're always telling the truth, even if this is a fake court proceeding. Pretend it's real. Pretend it's real. If you screw up, you can literally, after many months of training, be sent packing home without a job. So watch out for that. But in summary, the academics are really fun. You cover a wide variety of topics, much more than I'm even getting into today. But you sit there in that classroom, it's very much like a college. It is alphabetical, but plenty of room. You sit back in your chairs and you watch the instructor, and they've got their projector or whatever up there. And very much like being in college, except with cool, fun subjects that are actually entertaining and will be very applicable to your job. So anyway, all right, well, that's about all I have to say about that topic. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Stay safe, and we'll talk soon.